The assassination of Yitzhak Rabin took place on November 4, 1995 at 21:30, at the end of a rally in support of the Oslo Accords at the Kings of Israel Square in Tel Aviv. The assassin, an Israeli ultranationalist named Yigal Amir, strenuously opposed Rabin's peace initiative and particularly the signing of the Oslo Accords. Prelude. The assassination of Israeli Prime Minister and Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin was the culmination of Israeli right-wing dissent over the Oslo peace process. Rabin, despite his extensive service in the Israeli military, was disparaged personally by right-wing conservatives and Likud leaders who perceived the Oslo peace process as an attempt to forfeit the occupied territories. National religious conservatives and Likud party leaders believed that withdrawing from any Jewish land was heresy. Rallies, organized partially by Likud, became increasingly extreme in tone. Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu accused Rabin's government of being removed from Jewish tradition and Jewish values. Netanyahu addressed protesters of the Oslo movement at rallies where posters portrayed Rabin in a Nazi SS uniform or being the target in the crosshairs of a sniper. Rabin accused Netanyahu of provoking violence, a charge which Netanyahu strenuously denied. Yigal Amir. The assassin was Yigal Amir, a former Hesder student and far-right law student at Bar-Ilan University. Amir had strenuously opposed Rabin's peace initiative, particularly the signing of the Oslo Accords, because he felt that an Israeli withdrawal from the West Bank would deny Jews their biblical heritage which they had reclaimed by establishing settlements. Amir had come to believe that Rabin was a road, meaning a pursuer, who endangered Jewish lives. The concept of din rodf is a part of traditional Jewish law. Amir believed he would be justified under din rodf in removing Rabin as a threat to Jews in the territories. According to Rabbi Arthur Wasko, Amir's interpretation of din rodf is a gross distortion of Jewish law and tradition. First of all, the law of the pursuer only applies to a spontaneous act, whereas Yigal Amir planned this assassination for 2 years. Secondly, the law of the pursuer is only intended to save a potential victim from imminent death. There is absolutely no proof that withdrawing from certain territories will directly lead to the death of any Jews. On the contrary, Prime Minister Rabin, over half the members of the Knesset, and over half the population of Israel believe exactly the opposite, that it will save Jewish lives. Lastly, this law does not refer to elected representatives, for if Yitzhak Rabin was really a pursuer, then so are all his followers, and that would mean that Amir should have killed over half the population of Israel. In other words, even according to the law of the pursuer, this act was totally futile and senseless since the peace process will continue. Yigal Amir had been under surveillance by the Israeli Internal Security Service, but the agent monitoring him had concluded that Amir posed no threat to the Prime Minister's life. Assassination. After the rally, Rabin walked down the City Hall steps towards the open door of his car, at which time Amir fired 3 shots at Rabin with a Beretta 84 f.380 ACP caliber semi-automatic pistol. He was immediately subdued by Rabin's bodyguards and arrested with a murder weapon. The 3rd shot missed Rabin and slightly wounded security guard Yoram Rubin. Rabin was rushed to nearby Akilov Hospital at the Tel Aviv Sourasky Medical Center, where he died on the operating table from blood loss and a punctured lung within 40 minutes. Rabin's bureau chief, Eitan Haber, announced outside the gates of the hospital. The government of Israel announces in consternation, in great sadness, and in deep sorrow, the death of Prime Minister and Minister of Defense Yitzhak Rabin, who was murdered by an assassin, tonight in Tel Aviv. The government shall convene in 1 hour for a morning session in Tel Aviv. Blessed be his memory. In Rabin's pocket was a blood-stained sheet of paper with the lyrics to the well-known Israeli song Shalom Shalom, which was sung at the rally and dwells on the impossibility of bringing a dead person back to life and, therefore, the need for peace. Reactions and funeral. The assassination of Rabin was a shock to the Israeli public. Rallies and memorials took place near Kings of Israel Square, later renamed Rabin Square in his honor, as well as near Rabin's home, the Knesset building, and the home of the assassin. Many other streets and public buildings around the country were named for Rabin as well. The funeral of Rabin took place on November 6, the day after the assassination, at the Mount Herzl Cemetery in Jerusalem, where Rabin was buried. Hundreds of world leaders, including about 80 heads of state, attended the funeral. President of the United States Bill Clinton, King Hussein of Jordan, Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, Russian Prime Minister Viktor Chernomyrdin, Spanish Prime Minister and European Council President in Office Felipe González, Prime Minister of Canada Jean Craig, Copyright 10, Acting Israeli Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, United Nations Secretary-General Boutros Ghali, Rabin's granddaughter Nober Nazi Philos, former Director General of the Prime Minister's Office Shimon Peres, Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, President of the Republic of the Congo Denis Sassou Nguesso, Director of the Prime Minister's Bureau Eitan Haber, and President of Israel Ezer Weizman were among those present. Amir was sentenced to be in prison for the rest of his life. A national memorial day for Rabin is set on the date of his death according to the Hebrew calendar. On March 28, 1996, the Shamgar Commission issued its final report into the assassination. It was critical of Shin Bet for putting the Prime Minister at risk and ignoring threats to his life from Jewish extremists. See also, Kempler video. References. Further reading, Karpin, Michael and Friedman, Ina. Murder in the Name of God, The Plot to Kill Yitzhak Rabin. Granta Books. ISBN 0-8050-5749-8. Efron, Dan. Killing a King, The Assassination of Yitzhak Rabin and the Remaking of Israel. W. W. Norton and Company. ISBN 978-0393242096. External links. Israel marks Rabin assassination, BBC, November 12, 2005, A Somber Night in Rabin Square, BBC, November 12, 2005, Could He Have Been Saved? An article by Ronan Bergman in Haaretz, 10-minute video of Rabin's assassination hosted on Google Video, assassination part of the Kempler video on CNN, Cohen Rodelst on Yitzhak Rabin's assassination, the night in question. This American Life. Episode October 16, 570, 2015. Public Radio Exchange. WBEZ. Retrieved October 17, 2015. Covers the assassination and its conspiracy theories, including an interview with Yigal Amir's brother and co-conspirator Yigal Amir and a new forensic examination of the shirt Rabin was wearing when he was shot.